Hi everyone, it's me, Sailor Moon, Serena, and me, Sailor Earth, Ernest here. And today we're gonna talk about, in our belief, why WB and UPN did not do very well by our show. Now, for anyone living in the 4-1 Reichs, back in the day, and not between 95 while, the only two folk works that got a deal with Deke for Sailor Moon was UPN, why, I don't know, and WB. And both of them had really bad times. And a lot of them are going to say, you know, like 5 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning, where most folks are asleep or only waking up. So yeah, bad time for anything, you know, unless you're someone who's couldn't get to sleep and then you're already awake, or you time filmed it. Now, no need which WB or UPN that my show was on. It was not given did not get a good time. Yes, it was true that some WBs and some UPNs may have given it, may have given it 6 o'clock or 6:30 in the morning. Now, some folks are still going to say that was a bad time. Who knows? But anyway, that was the time I got. And some folks may have not even known about it, weren't even awake to watch it. And those who were, well, the looking and watching never ever, did very well. And why WB and UPN didn't really give my show a fair hand? One guess I can come up with is that there were other shows that had time on UPN and WB at that time and did not want their time to be shifted for some new show that had never been on UPN or WB to take that time. And that's one belief. Two, UPN and WB just didn't really care about my show and gave Deke and said, Deke, you get 5 and 5:30, take it or leave it, or 6 or 6:30, take it or leave it. Why? Who knows? So the looking was never the greatest. And when you don't have a lot of folks watching a show, that means you don't have a lot of folks seeing the showings. So many businesses that were buying showtime in the beginning, middle, and end of Sailor Moon on UPN and WB at that time were not getting a lot back for their geld. So they chose to pull out because they weren't getting their showings weren't being seen. If someone if a show's not getting a lot of looking and a lot of watching, then that means that the showings aren't going to be getting a lot of seeing either. That also means that FOLKWORK leaders would have to make it cheaper. So my show was most likely didn't do very well, and it was mostly cheap to buy showing time in my show. But since when very few folks were watching my show, they didn't make very well in it. And they dropped it halfway during the 2 with following of Sailor Moon R. And that's where my show got the bad name for, not being good. And that was mostly due to UPN and WB giving my show a bad time slot. Now, you can't say the same thing for USA or Cartoon when they got the rights. But we're talking about UPN and WB and how they kind of didn't do very well. Well, first off, I know a lot of folks who formerly worked at UPN or WB are going to say, oh, well, some of those FOLKWORKs were owned by other businesses and they didn't want to broadcast the shit that we had. Okay, I'm not believing that. If you own it and it's got your name on it, then yeah, they're going to have to broadcast all the shows that you got a broadcast deal with. That may have been their forgiveness. Maybe the truth is that folks at WB and UPN weren't really into drawing shows from Dawnland at that time. Yeah, years later, need be, but at that time, yeah, they didn't really give Sailor Moon a fair shake. Now, if they would have given her 7 or 7:30 in the morning, 8 or 8:30 in the morning, then need be the looking would have been good, and some of the show time could have been a little more worth a little bit more. But no, they chose not to. And that's how, and only if you were lucky and you happened to be awake at that time and you didn't have to go to work, you didn't have to go to learn, whatever the grounds is, then you most likely would have been, if you knew about it and saw the showings for it, and then you were lucky enough and be awake around that time and have UPN or WB on, and maybe you would have saw it. Or you would have time filmed it. Now, for you folks that don't know what time filming is, it's when you put a tape into your film player and then you would set the month, the time, and the date, and the FOLKWORK. And for the film player to start filming the show at what time, at that date and that month and that time and that day on that FOLKWORK. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes it did not. Because there was no tape filmers like we have now, with a lot of what we have now in our it's not like how you had DVRs or what we'll call them, film players. They're already set inside of mini wire boxes. So back then that was the thing you did. So anyway, at the end of the day, I don't know why UPN and WB did not give your show a good time. But we can say that USA did. 8:30, Moon Day through Thursdays. Why Fridays? I don't know. And Cartoon or Drawing Foe giving you that 4 o'clock or 4:30, but that would come later. And I don't know why it was USA and Cartoon that did very well with you, but why UPN and WB did not. Our WB at the time was WB22, which is no longer around, which is CW now. And our UPN was UPN 19, which is no longer around. It's smashed in with the CW now. But at the time, they were, didn't do very well with our show. You're right, Ernest. I'll never know why UPN and WB never gave my show a good time, Flood. Why they didn't do very well by my show. We'll never know. So I just gave my thoughts to why that is. And I'll never know, why it was. Why I got the Deadtime slots. Why, why a lot of that was the grounds to why a lot of folks weren't watching. We'll never know. We just got our guesses, That's all the time we got for my friend Sailor Earth Ernest and I, Sailor Moon Serena. And hope you like this film, share it, playlist it, and we'll see you later.